Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf, which is Eruvin Tzadik Hey. We are 5 lines from the top of the Amud, and coming off a discussion between Rabbi Shmuel in a case where we have an Achsadra B'Bika. Achsadra is this canopy, this roof, which doesn't have any mechitzes enclosing the area. According to Rav, we can apply a concept of pitikra, Yered V'Soisen. The edge of that roof, of that ceiling, appears to be descending downward, enclosing the entire area. According to Shmuel, we don't say pitikra in a case where it's fully exposed without any mechitzes whatsoever. Says the Gemara, we actually have a similar machlekes between Rabbi Shmuel elsewhere, which seems perhaps to be synonymous with this machlekes between Rabbi Shmuel. Says the Gemara 5 lines from the top, Lema, shall we say perhaps Abaye v'Rava, the machlekes between Abaye v'Rava. By Sukkah, but Plukta, the Rav Ushmuel Kamiflagi, is synonymous with these machlekes between Rabbi Shmuel over here by Shabbos. The Itma, as we learned, Sichech al Gabi Achsadra, Sheyesh lo B'tzim. Achsadra here is describing the terrace, so we have a post on either one of the 4 corners going upward, and we have a beam connecting one post to the other, running along the perimeter. So let's say we have 4 beams running across along the perimeter of this area, connecting the 4 posts to each other. And he was sichech al gabi achsadra. He put some schach on top to cover over this canopy, cover over this terrace. Now this achsadra has petzimin. Sheyesh lo petzimin means there are poles positioned alongside the perimeter of this achsadra. These vertical poles are within 3 tefachim to each other, which create an enclosure using the concept of a lavud. So we view the area as though it really has proper mechitzes. We have these poles running from post to post, from corner to corner, all along the perimeter, creating a full enclosure. So sichech agabech sadr sheyesh lo betzimin, if it has these poles, kshera. And certainly it's kasher. We have 4 walls, we have schach. Ein lo betzimin, but if there are no poles running alongside the perimeter, so we don't have the 2 mechitzas plus that are required for sukkah. So in this case, we have schach, but we don't have proper mechitzas. We only have those posts along the 4 corners, and we also have the beams running on top of those posts along the perimeter of the achsadra. So now the question is, can we apply pitikra, Yered V'Soisen, to enclose the achsadra to give it mechitzas? Abaye makshera, he says it's fine. Rava mapsula, it's possible. Abaye makshera, why? Amar pitikra Yered V'Soisen. We view those beams on top as though they come down, the edge of the beam as though it comes down and creates an enclosure. V'Rav Amar Psula, this is not a good sukkah. Loy Amar or Loy Amrinan Pitikra Yered V'Soisen, we can't enclose it using the concept of Pitikra. So it seems to be pretty similar to our discussion between Rav and Shmuel. Says more Lema, perhaps we should say Abaye Kirav, Abaye who says Pitikra in that case, and is Machshir the sukkah, holds like Rav, who applies Pitikra on all 4 sides by Shabbos. V'Rava K'Shmuel, Rava who doesn't apply Tikra there, apparently is synonymous with Shmuel by us, who doesn't do the same by Shabbos. Says more, not necessarily are they connected. Why? Aliba de Shmuel, Kuli Alma Loi Pligi. Regarding Shmuel's opinion, there's no discussion, meaning Shmuel that does not subscribe to Pitikra by Shabbos certainly will not hold of applying Pitikra by Sukkah, which requires more than Shabbos, as we're soon going to explain. So Shmuel, who doesn't apply the concept by mechitzes of Shabbos, certainly can't apply by Sukkah, and therefore Abaye, who allows the application of Pitikra by Sukkah, will not hold like Shmuel. Shmuel and Abaye don't work with each other. So that's a given. Ki pligi aliba de Rav. The question is perhaps regarding Rav's shita. Does it have to contradict Rava? Meaning the fact that Rav applies Pitikra by Shabbos, does that mean that he'll do the same by Sukkah? Ki pligi aliba de Rav. There will be a machlekes between Abaye and Rava regarding Rav's shita. Abaye kirav. Abaye holds that we apply Pitikra on all 4 sides by Sukkah. Certainly he holds like Rav. So Rav that says we do so by Shabbos will hold we do so by Sukkah as well. So Abaye and Rav work together. Rava, however, Rava will say, I'm not necessarily inconsistent with Rav. Perhaps I can work with Rav as well. Why? Ad kan like Amar Rav Hasam. Perhaps only by Shabbos does Rav subscribe to Pitikra, and says we can enclose the achsadra using the concept of Pitikra Yod V'Soisim, that's only because it's Shabbos. Because these mechitzes, meaning the beams running along the top of this achsadra, were intended to separate the achsadra from the area beyond it. So since it creates that impression of separation, it was intended for the achsadra itself, then we view it as though it comes down and encloses the area. So that's by Shabbos, but by Sukkah it's different. But over here by Sukkah, even Rav perhaps would agree that you can't apply the concept. The Hane Mechitzes, Lav L'Sukkah Avidi. Since these Mechitzes were not established for the sake of creating a Sukkah, like, perhaps even Rav would agree that we can't apply Pitikra. Let's take a look at Rashi inside. Explains this last line of the Gemara. Rashi here is 12 lines from the top of the Amid. It says, Lav L'Sukkah. It wasn't created L'Shem Sukkah. Says Rashi, what do you mean? Whoever needs the mechitzes to be created for the sake, for the intent of making a sukkah, it's not necessarily a requirement. Generally, we don't need to create mechitzes with the intent of creating a sukkah. Once you have mechitzes, pre-standing mechitzes, pre-constructed mechitzes, certainly it's fine for sukkah. So why would this be problematic? Says Rashi, Kuli hai mi'aloi mikilinan. However, to this extent, we can't be mekel. Meaning, yeah, if you have actual tangible walls, even if they weren't constructed for the sukkah's sake, but they're there, they're creating an entity, an enclosure. They can be used for sukkah as well. You don't need to have mechitzes lishman for the sake of sukkah. However, here it's not tangible mechitzes, it's merely virtual mechitzes. We have the pitikra, which is serving, which is functioning as a separating factor. So regarding Shabbos, that's all you need. As long as it creates a separating factor, it creates that impression of separation, it sort of keeps the public out of this area, that's okay. But when it comes to sukkah, well, you need to create a positive entity, a self-contained entity, a sukkah. Not just to keep the public out, it's to create a sukkah. So again, if there are actual mechitzas there, then automatically you have that. But if it's mechitzas by way of functionality, the fact that they're creating an impression of separation, for sukkah you need not just separation, you need a higher level, higher degree of functionality. You need to create an entity of sukkah. And if these mechitzas are not placed here for the sake of this type of functionality, then they don't function as such. And they can't create that entity of sukkah. And therefore, says Abaye, even Rav, who applies pitikra in this case by Shabbos, because Shabbos doesn't require as much as sukkah. Sukkah you need to create something positive. In this case, the pitikra, which wasn't placed there for this purpose, won't function as such, won't create a sukkah, and even Rav would agree, you can't say pitikra to machshir the sukkah. So in summary, when it comes to Shabbos, Rav says pitikra Yod V'Soisim on all four sides, Shmuel says we don't say pitikra on all four sides. When it comes to Sukkah, Abaye says we do, Rav says we don't. Now, what do Rav and Shmuel hold by Sukkah? So, Shmuel, who says by Shabbos we can't say pitikra, certainly by Sukkah will not apply pitikra, which requires more. Sukkah requires more than Shabbos. However, according to Rav, we're uncertain. Rav, who applies it by Shabbos, says Abaye holds by Sukkah as well. Whereas Rava says, no, perhaps, although Rav applies it by Shabbos, but he would certainly agree that we can't apply it by Sukkah. Continues the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, so getting back to the Mishnah where the wall of the house or the chutzner was breached on Shabbos, or the lechi v'koira of the mavi went missing. So Rabbi Yehuda says it maintains its permissible status. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, look, if it's mutter now, why can't it be mutter long term? Now, if it's usher for all time, it should be usher during the Shabbos as well. And the question is, which one did he really mean? Which way? Did he mean to say that it should be mutter for all time, or usher for all time? They asked the question, Rabbi Yehuda le'eser or lahatir? Was he coming to make usher or to make heter? Or Rav Sheshes le'eser, he was coming to say, well, just as it's usher in the future, it should be usher now as well. V'chein Rabbi Yechon le'eser, he was coming to make it usher even for the Shabbos. We find likewise in a brisa. Just as it's usher in the future, likewise it's usher for that Shabbos as well. Itma, we learned Rabbi Chia bar Yosef Amar halacha krab Yosi, that it's usher. Ushmuel Amar halacha krab Yehuda, that once it became mutter for the Shabbos, it retained its heter status throughout Shabbos. Umiyama Shmuel hachi, is that so that Shmuel holds then in this case we would follow Rabbi Yehuda's shita to be matter. About Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah. The Mishnah there is telling us that in order to create an eruv on behalf of somebody else, you have to inform him, you have to obtain his consent. Rabbi Yehuda, when is this consent required? Yeah, by Erev Tchumen, where you don't know where this person is going to be going on Shabbos. You can assume it's to his benefit to create an Erev in one direction. Perhaps he'd like to go in the other direction. So you need to have his consent. Aval be'eruv chatzeros, when it comes to Erev Chatzeros, which is strictly to his benefit, there's no downside to it. Ma'arvin bein ladas, bein shel ladas. You can make an Erev on behalf of a person whether or not he knows about it. Because you can grant benefit to a person even without his consent, but something to his detriment can only be done in his presence. He has to know about it. That's Rabbi Yehuda's sheet. So Rabbi Yehuda quoted Shmuel that the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda. Not only in this case, Rabbi Yehuda be'ervin. Whenever we find Rabbi Yehuda in halachas of ervin, halacha k'mais, we follow his shita. So that's Shmuel's statement. We follow Rabbi Yehuda when it comes to ervin. V'amalei Rav Chana, Bagdosa, Rav Chana from Baghdad, told Rabbi Yehuda, asked Rabbi Yehuda like this: you're quoting Shmuel that we always follow Rabbi Yehuda when it comes to ervin. So I'd like to know, Omar Shmuel, did Shmuel apply the statement? Did he give this formula, afilu b'mavi, shenital kairasay alechayev? Oh, we went to follow Rabbi Yehuda's shita even when it comes to the mavi who was lechi v'kar went missing on Shabbos, that it still retains its heter there as well. Or we meant to follow Rabbi Yehuda's heter. So this was Rav Chana asking Rabbi Yehuda regarding the opinion of Shmuel regarding whether or not we follow Rabbi Yehuda's shita even in this case as well. V'amar lei, and Rav Yehuda responded to Rav Chana Bagdasa, be'eruvin amartilach. When I quoted Shmuel that we always follow Rabbi Yehuda, it was only in matters pertaining to Eruvin. Not in the context of halachas of mechitzis, such as this case of the lechi v'kuri that went missing, which are mechitza concepts. And in this case, we don't follow Rabbi Yehuda shita. Now, what is the difference between Eruvin and mechitzis? The Rishonim, the Rashba explained that mechitzis are really, the concept is really Torah based. Right? So, although now we're speaking about a lecha v'kar, which are only rabbinically mandated, but the concept of a mechitzah is not Torah. So when it comes to that, we don't follow his shita. So now we have a kasha. How is this consistent with our quote of Shmuel? Ushmuel acha amar alach Rabbi Yehuda. This is on the first wide line. We have Shmuel specifically telling us that we follow Rabbi Yehuda, even in this case of the Mavi that was missing its Lecha V'Kar on Shabbos. We still can carry there. So this is a case of Mechitzis, where, according to Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, we don't follow Rabbi Yehuda. So do we or don't we? Amar Av Anan, he said like this: Lididi, Yifashali Minei Shmuel. Shmuel explained to me that, you know what, it depends in what context. In the case where the pirza was to a carmelist, for instance, a lechi v'koira was creating that separation between the alleyway, the mavi, and a carmelist, in which case, at worst case, what can happen? He'll carry out from the shayachid to the carmelist, which is only Issa D'Rabbanan. In that case, we are maker like Rabbi Yehuda, and in the case where the mavi, the Mavi's Lechi V'Kar went missing on Shabbos, we say, well, it retains its heter tiltal, and we follow Rabbi Yehuda's shita, because it's not so strict, not so stringent. But, Kan Shenifrat Rishus Rabbin, in the case where the Pirza was between this entity and Rishus Rabbin, in which case it entails a possible Issa D'Oraisa to carry out. In that case, we're concerned then, if the separating factor, the Lechi V'Kar, for instance, went missing on Shabbos, we don't allow continuous carrying there. We must stop carrying, even if it happened on Shabbos. So, in summary, we always follow Rabbi Yehuda shita and Eruvin, but when it comes to Eruvin, not when it comes to mechitzas, which mechitzas don't we follow Rabbi Yehuda? In the case where it was nifratz, which is a rabbin, which involves a greater risk of Issa Malacha, in that case we don't follow shitas Rabbi Yehuda. Continues the Mishnah, Haboina aliyah al gabi shnei batim. However, Rishus Rabbim, of a house on either side, he builds an aliyah, an upper floor running across from one house to the other. So now we have a Rosh Hashanah, which actually has two mechitzas. The house on either side are creating that enclosure, two mechitzas. And we have a roof on top, which will create pitikra, Yerd V'Soisim, to complete 3 and 4. So the house on either side are mechitzas 1 and 2. The roof running across the Rosh Hashanah will create mechitzas 3 and 4 using the concept of pitikra, Yerd V'Soisim. V'chein Gesharim HaMefulashim. Likewise, we have bridges which are open-ended, meaning they run from one side of the street to the other. So the supporting posts create two mechitzas, and the area beneath the Gesharim HaMefulashim, Mefulashim means it's open-ended, that the rabbin walk through it, walk right underneath it. That gesher will create the pitikra. The roof, the overhang will create a pitikra Yord V'Soisim, creating mechitzas 3 and 4, so the area underneath that gesher is fully enclosed. Number one, it has two mechitzas. Number two, the pitikra, the edge of that ceiling, will appear like it's descending downward and creates a full enclosure. Metalton tachtein b'Shabbos, one may carry beneath these structures on Shabbos. They don't allow it. They say, well, creating a pitikra and shesarabim, that doesn't work, because the public walks right through it, and there's an issa tiltal there. In addition, said Rabbi Yehuda, ma'arvin l'mava mefulish. We have a mava, an alleyway, which is mefulish, open-ended. It's a walk-through. It only has two mechitzas. Then we can create an eruv to allow carrying within it, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, an area which is enclosed by merely two mechitzas is considered to be a properly enclosed area min haTorah. So therefore you can make an eruv there to carry. They say you can't, because according to them, you need at least 3 mechitzas to create an enclosure. So the Mishnah began by describing the aliyah running across the Rosh Hashanah, the gesharim running across the Rosh Hashanah. Amar Rabba loy tema, hainu taima de Rabbi Yehuda. Don't suggest that Rabbi Yehuda's reason is mishum de kasavar beis mechitzas deiraisa, because he holds that in the area which is closed with merely 2 mechitzas, that's sufficient in Torah, and that explains why you can carry underneath that bridge between those homes. That's not the reason. It's only because he holds of pitikra in this case. So we have a fully enclosed area, employing the concept of pitikra. It's not because shtei mechitzas deiraisa, but rather because of the additional factor, the mechitzas plus the tikra, which create a full enclosure. So Abaye challenged Rabbi. He says, I have a brisa which indicates very clearly that according to Rabbi Yehuda, shtei mechitzas are sufficient in Torah. In addition, said Rabbi Yehuda, if a person has a home on either side of the street, so how does he carry between those homes? He makes a lechi on either side. So we have Rosh Hashanah running in the middle. We have a house on either side. So the area between those homes have 2 mechitzas, right? One on either side. Now if he wants to carry here, he has to create 2 lechis. Where does he put the lechi? He puts it right next to the home, let's say on the right side of the street. So he puts it on the closer side of the home and on the far side of the home. A lechi on either side of that bias, which creates that separation. It creates mechitzas 3 and 4 across the street. Or he puts a kaira on the near side and the far side of that home, running across the shesarab. That's how he creates a full enclosure, which now allows carrying in there even midrabanan. So he places a lechi on the near side of the home and on the far side of the home, or a kaira running across the street on the near side and on the far side. And this allows him to carry right in the middle. The Chacham responded in Ma'arvin, this is not a way to allow carrying Shesarabim. Says Abaye, doesn't this brisa indicate clearly that according to Rabbi Yehuda, 2 mechitzas are sufficient min haTorah? Right? That's how you can carry between these homes. So this is a challenge to Rabbi, who questioned it. He said, well, no, the Pshat and Mishnah has nothing to do with 2 mechitzas, it's because of pitikra. This brisa indicates otherwise. So Rabbi responded, you're right. Indeed, that brisa surely indicates that according to Rabbi Yehuda, 2 mechitzas are sufficient. Because in that case, there's no pitikra Yord V'Soisim. All you have are those 2 homes. So it's very clear, according to Rabbi Yehuda, 2 mechitzas are enough. However, from this Mishnah, the beginning at least, which discusses the two homes, which has the aliyah running over the Rishus Rabbim, or the bridge running across the Rishus Rabbim, there's no way to know. From there, they're going to be the two mechitzas are not from the Raisa, because here we have the additional factor of Pitikuyot V'Soisim, which creates a full enclosure. So there's no raya from here that Rabbi Yehuda holds Shtei mechitzas the Raisa. But you're right, that Raisa surely indicates as such. Amar Ravashi, Masnis and Nambideka. Says Ravashi, actually, the wording of our Mishnah also indicates that the Rab is correct. That the initial halacha of the Mishnah with the roofed area in Rishus Rabbim is related to the concept of Pitikuyot V'Soisim. Why? Midik Tani, because the Mishnah proceeds, right, towards the end of the Mishnah, we have V'oid Am Rabbi Yehuda, in addition to Rabbi Yehuda, Ma'arvin, B'mavim Mefilish. We can make an erev to carry in this open-ended alleyway. Chacham say you can't. Now, Amras B'Shleim, it all works well if you say that the initial part of the Mishnah, where we have the roofed Rishus Rabbim, is based on Pitikra. Amras B'Shleim Mishum de Kosavar Pitikuyot V'Soisim. That's the pshat in the first part of the Mishnah. Now I understand why the Mishnah adds and says V'oid Am Rabbi Yehuda, meaning additionally, not only in a case where you have Pitikra to create a full enclosure, there's Rabbi Yehuda allowed carrying. Even in the case of the Mavim Mefilish, we don't have Pitikra. There's no ceiling running across the top. You merely have two mechitzas. Even there, Rabbi Yehuda says you can carry because Shtei mechitzas deraisa. So you understand the wording of the Mishnah. This is going in increments. First, the case where you have Pitikra to create a full enclosure. Then, not only that, in addition to Rabbi Yehuda, even when you don't have a Pitikra to create a full enclosure, you only have two mechitzas. That also is enough because two mechitzas create an enclosure. But if you would have learned differently, that the reason where Rabbi Yehuda allows carrying the case of the roofed Rishus Rabbim is based on the fact that there are two mechitzas, which are sufficient in Torah. My va'oid. What's the point of adding va'oid and Rabbi Yehuda? Even in the Mavi, it's okay. It's an exact replica of the previous halacha. There's no additional chiddush here. The first halacha was shtei mechitzas amoter, and likewise the last halacha is the shtei mechitzas. What's the va'oid? Shema mina. Indeed, we see from here that there are two parts of the Mishnah. The initial part of the Mishnah was discussing a case where we have a roof running across the Rishus Rabbim, where we have the concept of Pitikuyot V'Soisim, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda allows carrying. And then the Mishnah proceeds and says, look, not even in that case, even in the case where you don't have a roof, all you have are two mechitzas, that's enough to allow carrying. And of course, the difference would be that in the case of the two mechitzas, you have to add the lechi v'koira, because although in Torah two mechitzas are enough, but in the Rabban you can't carry unless it appears as it's fully enclosed. So you have to have the two lechi, the two koira, as the Brisa described. But the first part of the Mishnah doesn't need that, because you have the two mechitzas plus the pitikra, which creates a proper enclosure, giving you mechitzas of 3 and 4. So in conclusion, there are two chedushim according to Rabbi Yehuda. Number one, in the case we have two mechitzas plus as pitikra, then it's considered to be fully enclosed. Chacham disagree with that. They say, well, it's in Rishus Rabbim. We have the Rabbim running through it. They disrupt the pitikra. We have the second halacha. Rabbi Yehuda says when you have a mavim mefilish, we have just two mechitzas without a roof running across the top. That is also considered to be adequate protection. Min Torah, two mechitzas are enough. And in that case, the Brisa described the lechi, the koira that have to be placed in order to create a full enclosure with the Rabbanon to allow carrying within it. Hadran Allah kol gagos, says the Mishnah, hamoitz tefillin. If a person should find tefillin out in the field on Shabbos, machnisan zug, he can carry them in, wearing them one pair at a time. Rabban Gamliel omer shnaim, he can wear 2 pairs at a time. But medva mamurim, when is this allowance given? B'yishanes, when these tefillin appear like they've been used. So the Mepharshim explained, was speaking where these straps are right now untied. You don't see the daled, you don't see the yud. But if you take a closer look at those straps, they appear to have been previously used and shaped as a daled, as a yud, in which case you're certain that they're tefillin. So you have this heter of wearing them, bringing them in. But if they appear new, you don't have an indication that they were ever formed into a daled, into a yud, the straps that is. I don't even know if they're tefillin. Rashi explains perhaps they're a kamiyah. They're an amulet. And people, they design their amulets in this manner perhaps. So you have no heter. You potter from bringing them in, and you actually have no heter. You're not allowed to wear them inside. Continues the Mishnah. Motzon tzvasim. Let's say he found several pairs of tefillin, or just lots of tefillin randomly wrapped up, not as pairs, but just lots of them. Machshich alein. In this case, there won't be adequate time to wear them one at a time, bring them in. So just wait out there until it gets dark, and then bring them after Shabbos. If it's a time of danger, Rashi says, for instance, there are robbers there, then we don't obligate him to do it in this manner. All he needs to do is cover them and continue walking. We have another option in this case. You line up several people and he hands them to his friend, his friend to his friend, each one carrying less than 4 amas. So, using this method, you can bring them all the way into the city. Until he reaches the first chatzar of the city, where they could just deposit it there, and it will stay safe and secure. Now, the Gon Yaakov explains how do you carry something from a karmelis into a chatzar, which is sheyachid. He says they do it in stages. One person picks it up, does the akira, the other person does the hanacha, in which case it's only a sidrabanan, and was allowed in this case of salvaging the tefillin. Likewise, this method can be applied to his son, which was born out in the field. He could be handed from one person to the other, even if you have 100 people here. You can apply it in a different case as well. If you have this barrel with water, and it's a time of necessity, so you can hand it to his friend, and onward, even if it ends up being carried out of the tchum. So the Chacham responded, no, that you can't do. You can allow this barrel to be transported past where the owner can walk. It must stay within the confines of the boundary of the owner. The Gemara will explain the background of the machlekes. The Mishnah began describing a case where a person finds tefillin out in the field. Tanakama says, wear 1 pair at a time. And Rabbi says even 2 pairs. Says the Gemara, zug echad in tefillah. The Mishnah only allows 1 pair, but no more than 1 pair. Lema, shall we say perhaps, Tanan. Our Mishnah is stamad like Rameh. Our anonymous Mishnah, we know that a Stam Mishnah is generally following Rameh's Shita, Stam Mishnah Rameh. Our Stam Mishnah doesn't have a name to it, appears not to be consistent with Rameh's Shita. Our Mishnah which only allows 1 pair. Why? The Ikar Rameh, because according to Rameh, he doesn't set a limit. Ha'amar, didn't Rameh say when it comes to the fire that broke out on Shabbos, Chacham were concerned, don't get over involved, for perhaps a person might be tempted to put out a fire. So you have to do it, you have to salvage using certain guidelines. So Rameh said over there, person's allowed to wear whatever he can wear, meaning layers upon layers. And he can wrap himself with anything that works. Just dress yourself, wrap yourself with all kinds of layers of clothing, and carry out the clothing from the fire in that manner. So there's no limit at all. That's not. Where do we find that Rameh allows unlimited wearing, unlimited salvaging? L'sham, over there to the chatzar near the fire, moitzi kol tashmishta, you can carry out all his utensils. V'loivish kol mashiachal lubaysh, he's allowed to wear anything that he can get his hands on. V'oitiv kol mashiachal latev, likewise wrap yourself with anything. There's no limit set to how much you can salvage. Says the Gemara, 1 second, how do we know that Mishnah is Rameh? By his stomach, that anonymous Mishnah, Mimaydir Rav Meir, how do we know that's Rav Meir's Shita? The Tani Allah, because there's a brisa which describes, which supplements that Mishnah, which says, Loivish, so he goes into the fire area, wears anything he can wear, Umaitzi takes it out, Upaishet, undresses himself, comes back in with Loivish and wears Umaitzi and goes out, Upaishet and dresses himself, even if he continues this throughout the entire day. Divrei Rav Meir, so according to Rav Meir, there's no limit to how much a person can wear on Shabbos. In contrast with our Mishnah, which sets a limit of 1 pair of tefillin and no more. So our Mishnah, which is a Stam Mishnah, which is meant to be Rav Meir, is not following Rav Meir. Amar Rav afilu temer Rav Meir. Our Mishnah could be following even Rav Meir, and there's no kasha, there's no consistency whatsoever. Why? There's a difference between the allowance regarding tefillin and the allowance regarding clothing on Shabbos. Hasam over there by salvaging a person's clothes. Derech malbushay k'choil. Shavi Rabbanan. Rabbanan applied a formula based on how a person wears clothing during weekdays. So that's over there. That's why you're unlimited. Likewise, here as well when it comes to tefillin, derech malbushi k'choil shavi rabbanon. The Rabbanan applied a formula of allowance based on the weekday practice of wearing these tefillin. Explains the Gemara. Hasam over there by clothing, the b'choil during weekdays, kama de boy lavish. There's no limit to how much a person can wear. Unlimited allowance, you can wear many layers. And therefore, likewise when it comes to salvaging from a fire, sure the Rabbanan allowed without any limitations. Because whatever he wears has a din of derech malbush. He's merely wearing it in a manner of levisha. It's not a load. So that's why you can just wear layer upon layer. However, when it comes to tefillin, even during ordinary weekdays, zug echad in tefillin, how much could a person wear? One pair of tefillin, no more. We're working with the concept, explains Rashi, that tefillin are meant to be worn on Shabbos. Shabbos zman tefillin. We're going to have a discussion about it in the Gemara, whether or not the person is meant to wear tefillin on Shabbos. Apparently the Tanakama here, Reb Meir, will hold that, Shabbos is a time for tefillin. So, since tefillin are meant to be worn one pair and no more, even during weekdays, you're limited to one. Likewise, when it comes to salvaging the tefillin, zug echad in, one pair, yes, tefillin, no more than that. So, the point is that there's no special heter over here. You're meant to wear tefillin on Shabbos as well. It's a mitzvah, just like during the weekdays. So the derech levisha is determined by the way a person wears tefillin. Ordinary wears tefillin, which is one pair. That's considered to be derech malbush. But more than that, it's not derech malbush because the mitzvah is limited to one. You're actually not meant to wear more. We're to learn from this halacha of Bal Tosef. A person is not meant to add more to tefillin, to any mitzvah. Right? Not meant to wear two pairs of tefillin if you're doing the mitzvah. So the heter here is based on the way a person wears tefillin ordinarily, which is one pair, and therefore, according to Reb Meir, you salvage it one pair at a time, derech mitzvah, which is the derech malbush, and no more than that. Says the Gemara, shnaim, you're allowed to wear two pairs at a time. My kasava, what does he hold? Ikasavar Shabbos zman tefillin hu. If he holds that tefillin are meant to be worn on Shabbos, there's a mitzvah tefillin on Shabbos as well. If that's the case, zug echad in tefillin, then he should only have the allowance to wear one pair, no more. So, although generally speaking, even if we hold that there's a mitzvah tefillin on Shabbos, that's only not Torah. The Rabbanim are not meant to wear tefillin for concern that a person perhaps will remove them to go to the bathroom, and this might result in them being carried for Amos, which is a rabbin. So when it comes to the case of Hatzalah, the salvaged tefillin, the Rabbanan suspended their restriction, and they allowed a person to wear tefillin even on Shabbos. But it's based on the concept that really Shabbos is man for tefillin, and it's considered to be a malbush. It's not considered to be a load because it's really meant to be worn on Shabbos as well. So if that's the case, then he should only be allowed to wear one pair, and no more than that. Tosfos points out that more than one pair is actually an Isser Bal Tosef. We're not meant to add more to tefillin, and certainly that would make it a load. So how could Rav Gamliel allow two pairs? Continues the Gemara. Bika Savar. Now, if Rav Gamliel holds Shabbos lavzman tefillin hu, not when to wear tefillin on Shabbos. There's no mitzvah tefillin on Shabbos. So if that's the case, how can we even allow a person to wear tefillin in this case? Since tefillin are meant to be worn during weekdays, so the Rabban applied the concept of malbush, of tachshit, even when it's being worn on Shabbos. Since it's considered to be appropriate during weekdays, it doesn't have a din of a load even on Shabbos. It's considered like an ornament, like an article of clothing. And this was a special heter in this circumstance here of the Hatzalah, because there's a need to salvage them. Hatzalah. And for the sake of salvaging the tefillin, derech malbush, show the Rabban. Rabban allowed him to wear a derech malbush. Now, if that's the basis of the heter, so really it's not as man tefillin, but there's a special dispensation because of the Hatzalah need here. The need to salvage the tefillin. If that's the case, I feel it feinami. So why are you stopping at 2 pairs. Wear 100 pairs. If you're just strapping them on yourself and they appear like a article of clothing, like an ornament. So how do we get to 2? It's either 1 or unlimited. Certainly, Rabbi Gamaliel holds that we're not meant to wear tefillin on Shabbos. There's no mitzvah of tefillin on Shabbos. Now, when did the Rabbanan allow? When did they apply a heter to wear tefillin in the case of Hatzalah? And he's doing it derech malbush. So it's a special heter. In the case of necessity to salvage the tefillin, if provided that he's wearing it derech levisha, he's strapping them on himself. But that's only b'makam tefillin. If he's wearing them on his body, on the proper makam, which is meant to accommodate the tefillin. So, yeah, really, there's no mitzvah of tefillin. That's not the basis of the allowance here. It's not because it's a mitzvah. That's why it's not a load. There's really no mitzvah of tefillin on Shabbos. The Rabbanan applied a special dispensation regarding the case of Hatzalah. To allow salvaging tefillin, you can wear them, derech levisha, but that's only provided you wear them in the appropriate place on the person's body. Taisus explains, because otherwise it doesn't look like a malbush. If it's not, they're not being worn on the proper location on the person's body. Taisus says, only if you place it on the spot where it's meant to belong during weekdays. Says the Gemara, 1 second. So if that's the case, once again, how do you allow more than 1 pair? If so, only 1 pair is allowed, no more. In a person's head, on a person's head, there's actually room for 2 pairs of tefillin. So since there's a makom on the person that can accommodate 2 pairs of tefillin, Taisus says that we're speaking about the tefillin which are 2 etzbois by 2 etzbois. Oymerid the matzah medrash, the shiuron beis etzbois. So the chatchila minimum size of tefillin is meant to be 2 by 2 figure widths. So if we're working with that size tefillin, there's actually room on a person's head to accommodate 2 pairs, 2 boxes of tefillin. So that's Rabbi Gamaliel's basis for allowing 2 pairs to be worn simultaneously. So once again, the Shabbos is not Zman tefillin. There's no mitzvah. Chacham allowed the derech malbush in order to salvage the tefillin only on the makom of the body which can accommodate the tefillin, which is appropriate, suitable roi for tefillin, and they actually can accommodate 2 pairs at once. So since the makom in the person can accommodate 2 pairs at once, it's considered to be derech malbush. Says the Gemara, okay, that explains tefillin shorosh. We said there, on a person's head, there's actually enough space to technically accommodate for 2 boxes. Hanicha the rosh, that explains how he can wear 2 tefillin on his head. The yad meikil meima, what about on his hand? Rashi brings that the arm of a person, the whole zroya of the person is not kosher for tefillin. It's only a very specific spot on a person's hand which is appropriate for tefillin. So how can we allow him to wear 2 pairs of tefillin? Says the Gemara, Rav Huna, as Rav Huna told us, on occasion a person heads back from his field with his load sitting on his head, and he doesn't want it to get in the way of the tefillin. It's not respectful for tefillin. So what does he do? So he removes the tefillin from his head, and instead ties them on his arm. In which case he ends up with 2 tefillin on his arm, the shal yad and also the shorosh. So we have a case where a person will accommodate 2 tefillin on his arm as well. That explains why, according to Gamaliel, a person can wear 2 pairs of tefillin on Shabbos, because there's makam on a person's hand to accommodate 2 pairs. Says the Gemara, Eimer, the Amar of Huna. Yeah, Rav Huna only speaks about shlo yinag ben derech bezoyin. He's putting on his hand just to salvage from bezoyin, from degradation. Roy mi Amar. Did he suggest, did he mean to say that, halachically speaking, there's actually space on a person's arm that could accommodate 2 pairs of tefillin? Certainly not. So how can that be a basis for the heter? Ella rather could the Omar Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak, just as Rav Shmuel Yitzchak just told us. Makam yesh b'roish. There's enough space, halachically, on a person's head, sheroy laniach b'shet tefillin, that can accommodate 2 pairs of tefillin. Hachanami, here as well, on a person's hand, mokam yesh biyad, there's enough space on a person's arm, sheroi laniach b'shet tefillin, to accommodate 2 boxes of tefillin. So that explains Rabbi Gamliel's shita. Certainly he holds that Shabbos is lav zman tefillin, there's no mitzvah tefillin on Shabbos. It's derech sola, it's a time of necessity to save the tefillin. Chachamim consider it to be a tachshit, like an article of clothing, like an ornament, even on Shabbos, where there's no mitzvah, because during weekdays it's considered to be a malbush and a tachshit and a mitzvah. So this is a special heter on Shabbos. You can go ahead and salvage tefillin in this manner. How many pairs of tefillin? Says Rabbi Gamliel, 2 pairs of tefillin. Why? So the Gemara explained that you can't have more than 2. It needs to at least fit onto the place on the body which can halachically accommodate tefillin. Only then does it really look like a malbush. You can't just put it anywhere. It has to at least be in the appropriate place, location on the body, which is meant to accommodate tefillin. And then it appears like a malbush. How much room is there on a person's body? The Gemara concluded there's actually room for 2 tefillin on a person's head and 2 tefillin on a person's arm. So according to Rabbi Meir, which is Tanakama, you're limited to 1 pair of tefillin. The Gemara told us because he holds that the Shabbos is a zman tefillin. That's what appears in the Gemara. Rashi explains, and it's a mitzvah on Shabbos, and therefore you can salvage as much as is a mitzvah, which is 1 pair. That's considered to be derech malbush. According to Gamliel, Shabbos is not a time for tefillin. It's a special heter midrabanan, as a din of a malbush, but only up to a maximum of 2 pairs of tefillin at once. Continues the Gemara, Tana Dvei Menashe, we have a brisa, Dvei Menashe, which said like this: Al yodcha, al yodecha, meant to tie tefillin, ukshartem lois al yodecha. There's a man on a person's hand. Zuki boirs, that's the fleshy part, the muscle area between the elbow and the shoulder. That's where you meant to put the tefillin, shal yad. And the tefillin shalosh is v'hayilu toitafes bein einecha. Doesn't mean between, literally between the eyes. Zukadkait, placed atop his skull. Heicha, exactly where on a person's head. Amrit v'Rabbi. So in the Beis Medrash of Rabbi Yanai they said, Mokaim shemoichei shel tineik reifes. Up until the place where the moyach of a tineik is a infant up to 1 year old, there's a membrane which is still soft on the top of his head, in the front of his head. Up until 1 year old, that's called the mokim moichei shel tineik reifes. Reifes means still soft. So up until that point is suitable for nachas tefillin. Farshim explain, it means from the base of a person's hair, where it comes out of his head, that's where the lowest point of the tefillin, and then continues upward up until the end of the portion of the head which is still soft by a tinik. As the Gemara tells us, there's actually room there for 2 tefillin shalosh. Okay, now we're going to explain the machlekes between Rabbi Meir and Gamliel. Says the Gemara, lema, perhaps we should say that the machlekes between Gamliel, who allows 2 pairs of tefillin, in contrast with Rabbi Meir, which limits him at 1, is based on this very machlekes, this very concept. Is there enough room on a person's body to accommodate 2 pairs of tefillin? Lema, but the Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak Miflagi. Machlekes is based on this statement of Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak. Tanakama less like the Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak. Tanakama, which is Rabbi Meir, doesn't hold of that concept. There's no room for more than 1 pair. So you can only wear 1 pair on Shabbos, because otherwise it looks like a load. V'Rav Gamliel Islay, the Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak. In contrast with the Rav Gamliel, who subscribes to a Shmuel statement, there's enough room for 2 pairs of tefillin. That's why we allow him 2 pairs. Says the Gemara, no, the Kuli Alma Islu. The Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak perhaps all agree with the statement of Rav Shmuel that technically there's enough room on a person's body to accommodate 2 pairs of tefillin. What then is the machlekes between Rav Meir, who limits the allowance at once, and Rav Gamliel, who allows him 2 pairs of tefillin? V'hacha b'Shabbos zman tefillin kamiflaki. The question is Shabbos an appropriate time for mitzvah tefillin? Tanakama Savar, Shabbos zman tefillin. Tanakama, which is Rav Meir, holds, yeah, there's a mitzvah tefillin even on Shabbos. And if that's the case, you're wearing it because it's a mitzvah. That's what makes it permissible. Why is it not a load? Because it's meant to be worn on Shabbos. If that's the case, you can only wear up until one pair, because more than that is an Isser, Baal Toisif. The Torah doesn't allow adding to mitzvahs. You can't wear 2 pairs of tefillin, that's an Isser. So wearing more than 1 pair would actually entail a masa, it would be a load. That's what Rameir limits him at 1. Ram Gamliel Savar, Shabbos love is man tefillin. He holds no. One is not meant to wear tefillin on Shabbos. In Torah there's no mitzvah. Why do the Rabbanan allow him? Because they consider it like a tachshit, like an ornament. Since it's worn during weekdays, so it attains the status of a tachshit, Rashi explains, even for Shabbos as well. So, as much as you can fit on your body and still appear like a tachshit, you're okay. And since there's enough room on a person's body to accommodate, to fairly halachically accommodate 2 pairs of tefillin, so even up to 2 pairs still appear like a tachshit, don't appear like a load. So that's the first approach to the Gemara. Rameh holds is a mitzvah tefillin on Shabbos. You're allotted a maximum of 1. In accordance with the mitzvah, according to Gamliel, there's no mitzvah. The allowance is because we granted a status of a tachshit. And as long as it fits into the appropriate area on the body which can accommodate tefillin, you're okay. Which is a maximum of 2. Everybody say another approach. The Kuli Alma Shabbos is man tefillin. All agree that there's a mitzvah tefillin on Shabbos. V'hacha b'mitzvah is tzricha is kavanah k'miflagi. Machlokes says whether or not a person is required to have specific intent in order to fulfill a mitzvah. Tanakama savar lotzeis bai kavanah. Actually, Rashi has a different gears in the Gemara that according to Tanakama lotzeis loi bai kavanah. He holds that there's no requirement of intent in order to fulfill a mitzvah. A person can fulfill a mitzvah even without having kavanah to fulfill the mitzvah. V'Gamliel savar loy by kavana, according to Rashi's gersa, takes out the loy. He holds by kavana. Intent is a precondition to proper fulfillment of a mitzvah. So how does it explain the machlokes of 1 pair of 2 pairs? Explains Rashi that there's a machlokes here whether when a person approaches a mitzvah, is there a requirement to have machshava kavana? Look, I'm going to do the mitzvah now, otherwise you're not yotzei. Or is it just presumed? You're doing an act of mitzvah, it's presumed that it's for the sake of mitzvah, and it gets applied as a mitzvah regardless of your lack of specific, explicit intent. According to Tanakama, you're yotzei even without the intent. Lo bai kavan. That's the case. You can't allow him to wear 2 pairs of tefillin, because even if you should say that there's no kavanah, I'm just wearing it to salvage, to save it, to bring it home, to secure the tefillin. There's no intent for mitzvah. He's still going to be doing an Isser. Which Isser? Baal Toisif. You're not allowed to add to a mitzvah. You can't wear more than 1 pair of tefillin at a time. So the fact that he has no intent of fulfillment of mitzvah doesn't affect the mitzvah whatsoever. He's still going to be doing a mitzvah. In which case, wearing a double pair of tefillin involves an Isser Baal Toisif. Therefore, Tanakama doesn't allow more than 1 pair. Because should he wear more than 1 pair of tefillin, it's an Isser, and that makes it into a load. It's no longer a mitzvah, it's just carrying weight. So that's where Rameir limits him at 1 pair. Which Gamliel holds that you need to have a kavanah for mitzvah, otherwise you're not yotzei the mitzvah. So in this case, simple solution. Wear 2 pairs of tefillin, have in mind, look, I'm only being yotzei 1. The other one is merely just for salvaging purposes. In which case, he's only wearing 1 mitzvah, 1 pair, for the sake of mitzvah. And there's no Isser Baal Toisif, because he has no kavanah for the sake of mitzvah. Therefore, Gamliel allows him 2 pairs of tefillin. 1 is for the mitzvah, 1 is just to save the tefillin. And since there's no mitzvah being fulfilled with the second one because he has no kavanah, there's no Isser Baal Toisif. And therefore we give it the status of an ornament, of a tachshit, of a malbush, and it's not considered to be a load. So that's the second approach to the Gemara. Once again, all agree that there's a mitzvah tefillin on Shabbos. Tanakama holds that, generally speaking, to fulfill a mitzvah, you don't have to have kavanah. So in this case, when he's wearing 2 pairs of tefillin, he's inevitably going to be doing an Isser. Even if he has no kavanah to be yotzei with the second pair, it's an Isser Baal Toisif because it's automatically a mitzvah. So there's an Isser Baal Toisif and it's a load. Therefore, you're limited to 1 pair. Whereas Gamliel holds that you're not yotzei a mitzvah unless you have kavanah. In this case, let him not have kavanah for the second pair. So there's no Isser Baal Toisif, and it's not considered to be a load. Continues the Gemara. Another pshat is the Kuli Alma Lotzis Lebai Kavan. Generally speaking, to fulfill a mitzvah, all agree there's no requirement of a kavanah. You're automatically a yotzei mitzvah, even without specific intent to fulfill a mitzvah. So what then is the machlekes regarding Baal Tosef in specific? Does that require a kavanah or not? V'hacha lavar mishum Baal Tosef kemiflagi. And the question here is regarding Baal Tosef. The Tanna Kama Savar, lavar mishum Baal Tosef loy by kavanah. Even when it comes to Baal Tosef, kavanah is not required. Therefore, Tanna Kama says, you cannot wear more than one pair, because should he wear 2 pairs of tefillin, even if he has no explicit intent to fulfill a mitzvah, he's going to be over Baal Tosef due to that additional pair of tefillin that he's wearing, and that makes it into a maso, a load, which is Asr and Shabbos. V'Rabbi Gamliel Savar laver mishum Baal Tosef by kavanah. He holds, although to fulfill the initial mitzvah, you don't need kavanah. It's presumed to be mitzvah automatically. But when it comes to Baal Tosef, kavanah is required. He's only over if he has explicit intent to fulfill that extra facet of the mitzvah. So in this case, let him wear 2 pairs of tefillin without intent to do mitzvah with the second pair. In which case, there's no Baal Tosef, and it's not a load. Another pshat. Idis virulon the Shabbos zman tefillin. If we would be working with the assumption that tefillin is meant to be worn on Shabbos, then all would agree. The kuli alma, loy laver by kavana, loy lotis by kavana, all would agree that no kavana is required to be yotzei mitzvah, to be over on Baal Tosef if he adds to the mitzvah, because it's within the prescribed time, within the appropriate zman of the mitzvah, then it's presumed to be mitzvah automatically. That will be agreed upon by all. We're speaking on Shabbos, where it's not zman tefillin. And that's the basis of the machlekes. V'acha belaver shaloi bezmana kemiflagi. The machlekes between Tanna Kama and Gamliel is in the case where a person is going to be over Baal Tosef when he's doing the mitzvah out of the prescribed time. For instance, Shabbos, which is not as tefillin. The question there is, when he does the mitzvah, shaloi bezmana, without kavanah to do the mitzvah, do we automatically assume that it's for sake of mitzvah and he gets an iser Baal Tosef? Or do we say, well, that only applies when it's within the prescribed time for the mitzvah, but when it's shloi b'zmana, it doesn't automatically attain a status of mitzvah and become an isser Baal Tosef. That's the question. Tanna Kama Savar, loy by kavana. Even if it's shloi b'zmana, such as wearing tefillin on Shabbos, no kavana is required. Even if he wears it without the intent for mitzvah, he gets Baal Tosef, so you can't wear 2 pairs of tefillin. V'Gamliel Savar, laver shloi b'zmana by kavana. Since it's out of its prescribed time, it's on Shabbos, which is not appropriate time for tefillin. The only way he's going to be over on Baal Tosef if he has kavana. So let him wear 2 pairs of tefillin without kavana to be yotzei. In which case, there's no Baal Tosef because there's no kavana. Says Gemara, if that's the case, then why does Rameh allow him to even wear 1 pair of tefillin? Shabbos is not the time for tefillin. So even 1 pair is an Issa Baal Tosef. Even 1 pair should be Asa. In addition, if you say that when you do a mitzvah shaloi b'zmanai, there's Baal Tosef automatically, then how are you going to explain the following halacha? Hayashim b'shmini v'sukkah yilke. On the 8th day of Sukkot, in Chutz La'aretz. So there's a suffix whether it's still 7th day where there's an obligation of sleeping in the sukkah, or whether it's already the 8th day where there's no chiyuv, so a person sleeps in the sukkah, he does it conditionally. Well, if it's the 7th day, I'm doing a mitzvah. If it's the 8th day, I'm not. So it's a chance that it's shaloi b'zman. It's past the prescribed time for sukkah. And even if he has kavanah not to be yotzei on that chance, right? He says, if it's the 8th day, I'm not going to be yotzei. It doesn't work. Because shaloi b'zman, even without kavanah, is Baal Tosef. So a person should get malchus for Baal Tosef. Ella. So apparently this approach is incorrect. Shaloi b'zmanai, there's no automatic Baal Tosef. That explains why you can wear 1 pair on Shabbos, why you can sleep in the sukkah. Machavarta, the correct approach is kedishanin mikara, as we said earlier. So in summary, according to Rav Meir, you wear 1 pair, according to Gamliel 2 pairs. You have 3 approaches. Number 1, Rav Meir holds Shabbos is zman tefillin, there's a mitzvah. So you wear 1 pair, which is the mitzvah limit. According to Gamliel, Shabbos is not zman for tefillin. The Chacham allowed it to be worn for the sake of Hatzalah, and up until 2 pairs, which can be accommodated by a person. Approach number 2 is, according to Rav Meir, mitzvahs don't need kavanah to be fulfilled. So when he wears 2 pairs of tefillin, there's an automatic isser of Baal Tosef, even if he has no explicit kavanah to be yotzei. That second pair is a load, is a masa in his asr on Shabbos. According to Gamliel, kavanah is required to fulfill a mitzvah. So let him wear 2 pairs of tefillin with the intent not to be yotzei a mitzvah with the second pair, and therefore there's no Issa Bal Toisif and it's not a load. According to the third approach, all agree that mitzvahs, to fulfill a mitzvah, no kavanah is required. But the question is regarding Bal Toisif. According to Rav Meir, even when it comes to Issa Bal Toisif, no kavanah is required. So when he wears two pairs, automatically it's Bal Toisif and it's a load. According to Rav Leil, even when it comes to Bal Toisif, kavanah is required. So you can wear two pairs of tefillin. If he has no kavanah to be yaitzu with that second pair, therefore it's not considered to be a load, and is mutter to be worn on Shabbos. Okay, time for a brief chazor of today's daf. We began with the concept of pitikri v'soisim by Shabbos and by Sukkah. We learned that the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda when it comes to Eruvin. When it comes to mechitzas, depends on the situation. We learned that according to Ramliel, two mechitzas plus pitikri v'soisim works even in Shas Rabbim. Generally, according to Rabbi Yehuda, two mechitzas are sufficient in Torah. And if a person finds tefillin out in the field, he can wear them in, according to Rav Meir, one pair at a time, according to Rav Leil, two pairs at a time.